Chinese President Xi Jinping welcomed by his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin at the Kremlin on Thursday as part of a four-day state visit. It coincides with Russia's Victory Day celebrations scheduled for 9th of May, marking the 80th anniversary of the defeat of the Nazi Germany in World War II. The meeting between the two leaders saw Putin attributing Moscow's and Beijing's strategic cooperation to the combat brotherhood that the two countries built during World War II. During Xi's visit, the leaders are expected to discuss a whole host of issues: ongoing conflict in Ukraine, energy cooperation, proposed Power of Siberia to gas pipeline project. The pipeline would transport natural gas from western Russia to northern China, further solidifying the energy ties between the two countries. But today, we are going to talk about the larger message this meeting, this visit, these optics are set to present to the world, to India, and at a time when there are multiple uncertainties, tensions around the world. Let me quickly now get across, before I cut in the guest joining me, let me quickly now take a look and bring you the big questions that we are asking. Is this the new phase of the Russia-China relationship? How does this alliance affect the Ukraine war that's currently on? Is a new global order now emerging with China at the helm along with Russia? Where does this leave America? What happens to India at a time like this, where China has also come out with a support to Pakistan during Operation Sindoor? Operation Sindoor is not over. What will China's position be on Pakistan isn't clear as yet. What is clear is that there is a possibility of a new world order emerging. Einar Tangen, who is a prominent voice, joins us from Beijing. Weir, a senior journalist, joins us from Russia to talk more about the possibilities that this new relationship throws up. Einar, to you first. What is it that the Chinese president is hoping to achieve out of this visit?
Well, I mean, he's pursuing the same line that he has done for many, many years, and that is mutual cooperation. There's a long-standing economic cooperation, which has been growing at double digits. You mentioned earlier this new gas pipeline, and I would expect that there's going to be a whole host of new agreements signed on specific projects. And this is very, very different from, when the U.S. comes and they're asking for things as opposed to saying, let's make a deal.
Indeed. And clear to you, how do you see the fact that, what do you think, Fred, the Russian president would be hoping to achieve out of this visit?
Well, May the 9th is far and away the most important holiday on the Russian calendar. The military parade tomorrow, it will be, is a signal event. And the number of foreign leaders who attend is always a measure of Russia's international prestige. And of course, the most important one on the stand tomorrow will be President Xi. So this is, I mean, he's here. He's already had meetings in the Kremlin. I think it was President Xi who talked about a friendship of steel. And the noises, the initial comments out of the Kremlin are that this is an advance in the relationship. So that in itself is of great significance. It is an ongoing process, many years, many summits between Putin and the Chinese leadership have taken place, especially with President Xi, so this is ongoing. But they say it's reached a higher level. And it will be awfully important to see how the Americans respond to this, because any hopes that there are in Washington that you're going to drive a wedge between Moscow and Beijing do seem to have been thwarted by the atmosphere today.
There is no dearth of the kind of similes and adjectives that Russia and China are using to describe this relationship. Whether it is about the strongest bond possible, whether it is about one of the best buddies, you name it. There are a gazillion such adjectives and similes that are there. But I want to understand from you, Einar, that in terms of the optics and messaging, this is a messaging to America, isn't it? At a time when America is putting forth an America first policy, whether it is in trade or is in geopolitics.
Well, yeah, I mean, Trump's attempts to impose a new world order, based around American hegemony, isn't working. It's faltered. Xi Jinping's visit to Moscow on this Remembrance Day is symbolic, as you pointed out, because it underlines the resistance to this Washington vision. In the U.S. perspective, they're concerned about a united front against Washington's attempts to create this new world order. The U.S. interprets Xi's diplomatic activities through the lens of strategic competition, viewing them as attempts to counter Washington's desires to reshape the world in its own image and impose this new political and economic order. And these visits are not isolated. Washington sees Xi's visits to Southeast Asia and other regions as moves to maintain the existing economic and political order around the UN, the WTO, the WHO, the ICC, all the institutions, ironically, that the U.S. in essence created or started down the path, even if they didn't always join them. Ironically, Washington's main narrative is that China supports revisionist powers. And to a lot of people in China, it's the U.S. who is trying to be revisionist.
The beauty of these three powers is that they say they are the only ones who are not revisionist, everybody else is. That's what China says, that's what Russia says, and that's what some of the other powers are also beginning to say. But let me get you, Fred, on this. There is now a very sympathetic, or at least a more sympathetic America when it comes to Russia than to China, isn't it? So what is the messaging that President Putin would like to give to President Trump right now?
I think that the Russians are in a bit of confusion about how to handle Trump because he is very, very unpredictable. And they did have 4 years of experience before in previous Trump term, and that was, from the Russian point of view, a complete circus that ended up with relations being worse than ever. So they don't have high expectations, no matter how pleasant to their ears some of the things that are said in Washington seem to be. But I think what they want is a normalization of relations with the United States. They want to get along. They wouldn't mind American help in forging a peace settlement in Ukraine. But the messaging out of the meeting in the Kremlin today is that Russia is not going to do that at the expense of their relationship with China.
All right. As far as the last 3 years are concerned, and this is a question I put forth to both of you, which is that in the last 3 years, Russia-China relationship has undergone a huge change because of the sanctions that the Russian economy has been put forth on. This is now a war economy, and it functions the way a war economy does, where commodities, oil essentially drive it and not consumption. The fact that China now has the upper hand in this relationship, Einar, how do you think that is going to have an impact in terms of the relationship between the two leaders and the kind of roadmap that they're looking to set forth going forward?
Well, I think this idea of having the upper hand is a narrative that belongs to this kind of colonial tradition, last 600 years, whether you're either under me or you're over me. The fact is that China doesn't push an ideological anything on anybody else. So at this point, it is just about cooperation. China does not want to conquer Russia. It does not want to take lands in far off places or annex areas that do not belong to them. They're very prickly about areas like Taiwan, which they believe are theirs and which international law recognizes theirs. But I think it would be a mistake to think this is about just these three players. India, also Europe, and a lot of other middle players, especially in BRICS and Turkey, are also involved. And in the end, there's going to be a peace in Ukraine, which is necessary for the world to function properly. It is going to take a lot of those players cooperating and guaranteeing. Remember, it was the Europeans who went back and admitted They went back on the deals that they made with Russia to create peace, and openly said, "Yeah, we were just buying time." It's very hard to have negotiations with somebody who is being so honest about their dishonesty. So it's going to take more than that. Plus, U.S. cannot create a peace in Ukraine. They're not involved directly in the region. What Russia wants is security. They want to roll back all of these missiles and NATO sitting on their periphery and, in essence, threatening them. So as long as Europe doesn't want to have peace, it's going to be very, very hard, regardless of what Donald Trump wants or doesn't want.
It's interesting that you have a Chinese guest lecturing how Europe should try and get peace. That's, I think, the most rich part of this discussion. Well, the bottom line, viewers, really, as far as the China-Russia relationship is concerned, is that this is the third visit of President Xi Jinping ever since the Russia-Ukraine war started. And since then, a lot has changed. The trade relationship has changed. It's now the Chinese economy feeding into the Russian economy, given the fact that there are sanctions in place. It is also coming at a time when there is an America first approach that Donald Trump has. And in that, there is not a very sympathetic America when it comes to dealings with China. The trade aspect continues to be a bit of a concern. US-China trade dialogue will start in the next 24 hours. Russia has a more sympathetic America, but the larger message that they're both trying to send to President Trump is very clear, that you may be looking at an America first world, but there is more than that. Global order may be reshaping, but where will this go? What will be the larger impact on India is yet to be known.